the way that I see it, you two or you four, I've read your story on Ramp It Up. I've seen your videos, and I've got to say, y'all have a really good repertoire. Y'all have a really good story. Y'all have a really good vibe, and the way you four just get together and just basically talk, and it could be about nothing, but it also could be something really meaningful. Y'all have such, like I said, a repertoire. Now, the one thing I want to know is, y'all, how did you guys meet? Like, I want to know the story.
Okay.
Who wants to go first?
Well, I mean, it's all the same story. You could just...
It's all the same for all of us.
It is.
Yeah.
True.
Go ahead.
We'll
I mean,
let
we...
David tell it.
Anyone.
Go ahead, Dave.
Oh,
You can start.
someone else start. I have to, reposition real quick.
Okay, it sounded like Ian was gonna go, so...
Me? Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, we all met in college. We all started, around the same time. John, David, and I, we were all freshmen and entered together, and we entered. Yeah, we all came to. We ended up going to the University of Illinois down in Champaign-Urbana, and we all met our freshman year together. And Kushal had already been there for a little while.
Yeah,
he
for a
was,
year, yeah.
For a year, okay.
And
And we were in a disability friendly dorm called that basically specialized in providing a place for, again, people with anywhere from just spinal cord injuries to much more severe physical disabilities, a place to live while they're going to school, and they provided a program that allowed us to hire out other students as physical assistants for personal needs, bathing, clothing, that kind of stuff. The facility was equipped with a kitchen with a cook there to help us have meals and that type of thing. So it was a very very convenient, very nice facility, and a really a great place to be. That's where we all first met and kind of formed our friendship together.
Yeah, it's
very accepting.
I was gonna go to college years ago. I technically graduated high school with an option 2 special diploma through the state of Florida. I was able to go to school on the normal high school setting until the age of 22, and I went until the age of 20, and I said, nope, this ain't for me. I want to get my GED. So I went for GED classes for 2.5 years, and the teacher dicked me around for all that time saying, oh, you're doing this so good, you're doing this so good, go take your test. None of the crap he was telling me or teaching me was on the damn quiz. So I'm sitting in front of a computer at 7 o'clock at night going, duh. I'm like, ugh. So I failed my GED quiz. So I'm like, I go back to this dude and I'm like, hey, I failed. What did you do to me? And he's just sitting there like, well, I taught you the damn stuff. You should remember it better. I'm like, oh, so you're blaming my disability for this? You! And then I walked out. I never went back.
I think because we had such a positive experience, especially in the context of being supported with, disability-related services, I think it is, like, it's easy to think everyone has it that good. You know what I mean? Like,
it's easy to forget.
Exactly.
I'm sure there's just as many, if not more bad experiences out there.
When you talk about like your experience with the education system in general, like what kinds of support do you wish that you had when you were younger that would have made your experience better?
Honestly, I'll even tell you like this, Kushal. I grew up in, the early 90s, early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, really. And when I got to my, kindergarten, because they said when I was, 3 years old, okay, we're gonna stick you in pre-K. I failed kindergarten. All through, from first grade on, I've been hearing about this thing called the IEP, Individual Education
Oh
Plan.
yeah, we all know that.
And they stick,
Yep.
they used to stick me in these meetings and tell me, "Oh, you're doing such a good job, John. We're gonna put you in this class, in this class. You get to play with finger paints at one point. And you get to, strum the guitar." And I'm like, I don't care. Just stick me in class. They didn't. They told me I couldn't write for the longest time. That I didn't know how to read or write. So they stuck me with an Alpha Smart. Y'all remember an Alpha Smart?
Yeah.
I don't think I know what that is.
It's a tiny computer-like system that it's a word processor basically. It's almost like a what we would call a modern day laptop, but it was it was a huge thing and it was like a typewriter, and you'd sit there and you'd type your things out on it, and they would hook it to the computer and print out your printout, and like, holy heck. Because I could not write. I had bad hand-eye coordination. My words looked like chicken scratch. I literally have a signature of a doctor's writing as of this day because of horrible hand-eye coordination. But I've gotten better. When I entered high school, I finally had people who knew what the hell they were doing. And I credit my high school success to a woman named Angie Taylor, who was the head of the ESE department. So,
Okay.
I said, go ahead.
No, is that just like special education or something?
Yeah, it's special education.
Okay.
Special education. And so, I went through under her for all of my high school years, and she was the one to do she was sat in on my IEPs until I turned 18.
Okay.
And she did all my classes for me and, put me in the right stuff that she knew I'd like. And so when it came time for me to graduate, they already had me down as option 2 special diploma, which until the day I graduated, I didn't know what the hell it was. So...
Did all of this complete nonsense, did this, kill your opinion of just the education system in general?
It fueled it made me think that the education system is fucked up. Because it literally is in some aspects.
Yeah.
Let me get this straight. We're behind the rest of our class, and we're going to catch up to them by going slower than they are? Cuckoo!
You got people that excel. You got people that excel through friggin' school, and you tell them, oh yeah, you're gonna graduate with this and that and this and that, and you're gonna do this. You're gonna be a truck driver, and you can do all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, I'm sitting here in a wheelchair saying, am I ever going to get a job? And they're like, son, you probably can't even work at McDonald's because you're so crippled.
I can lend a little bit to this.
That is so unreal.
And some perspective.
Because of the 5 of us, you are easily the most physically able. So it's like, yeah.
So how does that make
sense? It just seems so backwards to me, yeah. How does that make any sense, yeah.
See, that's what I need you guys to come down and talk to these people down here in Florida. It's just like...
Yeah.
Go ahead, y'all.
So, I can add a little bit to this. I can't speak to the public education system in Florida, but I can speak to my degree is actually in education. Specifically, it's in elementary education, but I am certified for certain subjects in middle school, namely language arts.
Oh, gee.
And yeah, I work as a permanent building sub at a middle school right now, and I've been there for a couple years, and I fill in for pretty much any teacher in the building that's out. I'll take over the classroom for them, teach the class, follow whatever lessons they're doing, but I can plan lessons. I'm fine to teach a class on my own, and we're all a little bit older than you. I was born in '90, so I was going through the public school system starting from 1990 all the way up until 2008.
You were in school as a newborn?
I was gonna make that joke too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was in the gifted class, man. All right, I was studying trig
Are you
at
getting
8
what I'm
months,
saying?
so yeah.
I don't think you understand
Anyways,
the joke that I'm making, Ian.
that I was in school at infancy.
Yeah, that you went from the womb to a desk at infancy.
Yeah, like I was saying, man, I was doing trig and advanced geometry at 8 months. Okay, that's where I was.
Get out
So
of here.
I guess you, whatever.
Yeah, the doctor.
The thing about the public education system is, and it doesn't. This can kind of hold true no matter what state you're in.
Right.
It's gotten better in general for people with disabilities, for people with special education needs since the 1960s. It's definitely improved. The ADA
Oh, yeah.
coming up, in the mid 80s to early 90s, it gave us a lot of improvements. It helped. I'm just talking about when the benefits kind of kicked in. A lot of the services that all of us enjoyed in the early 90s, they were still new. All right, the ADA had been around for a while, but the public school system
Right.
was still trying to catch up. A lot of the IEP, all right, the individual education plan, it came into play for the most part in the 90s and on. That's when we really saw the benefits of it. It's probably one of the only reasons that I was able to get through grade school with an aide, with somebody there to help me with both physical writing needs as well as, just helping me answer questions when the teacher wasn't available. When I had my hand up there for like 10 minutes while she was trying to get to all the other kids, I would ask the aide that was helping me out the questions that I wanted to ask the teacher sometimes.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, but the issue here is that the public education system, it still works very similarly to how it did when it was instituted almost 200 years ago, and that's that there's a funneling system, unfortunately. And that's that people that are seen as having the potential for advanced career paths or that test well in standardized testing.
System for sure.
Yes, they tend to push those kids towards a certain direction, and the kids that don't test as well on standardized tests, that have lower grades, or that for one reason or another don't excel in the classroom, they are generally pushed in another direction, and that starts very early on in grade school, and those divergent paths become more and more expressed the farther and the longer you get in the public education system. Private schools can still have that problem, but they're less susceptible to it because they aren't subjected to state standards, to state needs, to having to service the general public of a couple thousand kids in one facility.
Exactly.
And
what I wanted to add to what Ian was saying, like for me and Ian and John and David, like the school system has worked out for us, right? But we experience a different problem. Like, yeah, the school system worked out, but then when it was time to get a job, it felt like it did not prepare us to be employed individuals because we're disabled.
I'll actually
And-
Exactly.
Yeah.
My educational experience, I think, very easily could have gone a different direction, and my parents not gotten very involved.
Absolutely.
They pushed me really hard to like the special education program and away from the general population because it costs the schools less resources to put you in those classes. And that's what they care about. That's the bottom line. And if I didn't have that advocate in my corner to say, no, you're taking regular classes, and the schools just have to figure out a way to fund and aid so you can do that, who knows what could have happened to me. So, I mean...
I was just trying to say that, in the end, the biggest problem that we ended up having was trying to get employed. I don't feel like college prepared us to be employed individually.
It gives you a lot of academic preparation,
Yeah, no, I
But
agree.
the actual real life experience and the practical side of things, unfortunately,
Yeah, it's like,
is not something that school can really prepare you for. And again, unfortunately, I think that that's more a life thing.
my
All
shoulders
practical
big.
skills, all being able to go out there and actually handle it on your own comes with
More. More.
the time and point where you have to do it. And
Don't let
that
me get more.
is something that people in our situation, when it comes time
Mhm.
to have to deal with,
Can you move
there
the
are
table?
maybe more
Gonna be
obstacles in
back.
our way than other people, and it's still one of those things where we don't get to find out what those obstacles are and how to overcome them until they're
Take
staring
table
us in the
away.
face.
Early school, elementary school experiences was different than most people with disabilities because I went to a private school. So
Oh,
I went to the Catholic school that's, down the street from my house, as opposed to the public school, the local public school. So all of my accommodations and services and all that was not really through the sort of one-size-fits-all assembly
right.
line kind of style that the public schools would do. So, like, everything was kind of, my parents, my teachers, they all kind of worked together
Hmm.
to figure out to figure out the best way. But there was nothing was official, nothing was really organized. It was all sort of piecemeal put together. And, in fifth grade, um, I got too big, really, to be, because basically my dad was just carrying me up the stairs to get to my class. Right, so my school didn't even have an elevator. They thought, like, this is going to be not really feasible anymore. So we're going to send you to this other school, Christopher. It was like, you know, the main, that's where you send your disabled kids to school in Chicago, right? So
Yeah.
I went there and saw,
Right.
and at that school I hated it because I saw a completely different way of handling things. Like I didn't
Exactly.
feel like I was getting personal attention or getting individually like what I needed or had things based on personal relationships, right? Like my
Right.
mom worked at the school, so I knew her. Like I knew my aunt was a teacher at the school. Like everyone knew me by name, and like since it was a small school, I basically knew all the staff people very well. So I went to this
Uh-huh.
public school, and I was just one drop in the ocean, right? Like they'd unload all the uh, kids in wheelchairs from the bus, and just pack them in the hallway, just like an assembly line, like passing it off
Right.
from one person to another. Like, here's your lunch, here's where you're sitting. Like, you don't get a choice. Like, you're sitting at this table, I'm gonna put you here. Like, it basically was a completely different experience. And, I ended up going back to my old school. But I actually did see both sides, and yeah, I could
Right.
definitely agree. Like, it's a very impersonal system, and often, especially when you're young, you're not really given any input into how it
Exactly.
works.
I've had experiences there where I'm just like, okay, what am I doing? You know, they stick me somewhere. You know, my aid's not here at one point. And so they stick me in a class and they say, you know, here's your work. You got to do this yourself until your aid gets back. And the aid's out sick. So I'm like, oh, God, what the hell do I have to do? And so they don't even sit there and boil it down for me. They just say, oh, you're on your work. You're on your own. Find the answers in the book. You know, basically a big you. Basically a big middle finger to you. I'm just like, okay, really? So I'm here, a 4th grader who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, and you're just gonna leave me alone? Well, F you then. Pisses me off.
I didn't
I
realize,
understandably so. Yeah.
Say what?
I didn't realize
Check
that
it out.
there were. I don't think I've ever talked to you guys about this, but like, I didn't realize there were situations where some of us had support all the time in all of our classes, and some of us didn't, because the way my school did it is anything that wasn't bathroom related, they would have one of the other students just help me, like, push my wheelchair from one class to another.
Well, that seems like...
And all that kind of stuff. So, like, I didn't really have individual support in the classes. I would just kind of find a random aide to help me use the bathroom when I had to go. But the rest of the time I was kind of on my own. But I assumed when I was that age, that's how it was supposed to be.
That's...
Like, I didn't even question that maybe it should be different.
That seems
I
like...
was never like, this doesn't seem right. Why am I not getting enough support? So, like, it's interesting when you're a kid. Sometimes you don't even question what's going on, even if it's wrong.
Yeah, that really
You don't know any
seems
better.
like a bad way. That seems like something could easily go wrong with other kids.
Not, like, I didn't realize it was a bad way till now. Like 20 years, I don't know, like 15 years later, like, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wait, I don't think I got enough support. Luckily, I made it work, I guess.
Not.
I don't know.
The platform and the position to sit down and tell their story, like I did with David. And if any of you want to come on the podcast, even though it's an author's podcast, if you still have a story to tell, I invite you to come on to the Author on Wheels podcast. Available on Anchor. We're available on Google Podcasts, Spreaker, several podcast platforms.
And we'll put links for all of this in the description.
Yeah, we'll,
yes.
For our viewers
No, let him say. It's all good.
Yeah, go ahead.
And you can also follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Author on Wheels. I post on there very regularly. We do live streaming on our Facebook page almost every single night, and I'll put the link to that on our page as well.
Cool.
Thank you all. David, Ian, Kushal, John, thank you for the opportunity to sit down with you guys tonight and just,
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
and give my story, because, you know, like I always say, everyone has a story to tell, and, you know, it's up to you to find that way to tell your story. You know, I write my story on wheels, and my question is to y'all, how do you write your stories? You know, you don't have to answer it, but, you know, everyone, like I said, has a story to tell. I just happen to write my story on wheels. So my ending question, what about you?